It has been a controversial ride, but the ride is almost over. Tiana's Bayou adventure is set to replace Splash Mountain in just a couple of months. Folks, we had heard that they would be opening Tiana's Bayou adventure for Memorial Day. Now we've got an update for you, and it may be more cynical, let's say, than you were anticipating. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are so happy to have you here with us as we continue our journey of explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Folks, we're going to be doing just me, myself, and I today because this is a bit of a tricky subject, so we're going to limit the voices on the video. Always enjoy having my guests, but today needed it to be just me. Now, we're talking about Juneteenth, and that's not something that we would typically talk about on this channel, but it's something we're going to talk about today because it looks like Disney may be aiming for Juneteenth in order to provide cover for Tiana's Bayou adventure. And folks, I'm here to tell you we are hearing that despite Disney's media days that they're going to be doing and all of this, there are serious concerns now about Tiana's Bayou adventure internally at the company. We'll explain it all in just a moment. First of all, though, folks, lots of facts coming your way today in this video. Click the like button as we get into them. The first bit of data I would like to give you is that apparently June 9th through 11th, that is going to be the media days, June 9th through 11th, that's going to be the media days for Tiana's Bayou adventure. And we have that confirmed by Lynn Testa, who runs the Touring Plans website. Great website. We highly recommend it. We like Lynn Testa. And folks, this lines up exactly with what we told you before, that Disney was putting out more invites now to sources in the past. We're not saying Touring Plans is part of this, but simply that Disney had been putting out more invites to more places, hoping that they will join Disney and get back in good graces. So, June 9th through 11th, that's the media days for Tiana's Bayou adventure. We have not yet heard if there will be cast member previews, and this is a very condensed schedule now. Originally, this ride was supposed to be opening Memorial Day weekend, but problems they have had. And perhaps, folks, Disney is opening this around Juneteenth to provide themselves cover. But I want to tell you what the real problem is before we get into the Juneteenth situation, let's say. Now, this comes to us from a highly placed source, fantastic source, and we truly believe what they've got here. This is what they say. Cannot confirm the opening date being Juneteenth, although we'll get to that in a moment. But the media part, in terms of June 9th through 11th, is real. The attraction's opening is being rushed now. They need to capture the summer crowds. Previews are going to be compressed, and neither previews nor opening day will see all of the animatronics installed. Let me say it again, folks. What this very highly placed source is saying is that not all of the animatronics have been installed, and yet Disney is going to open the attraction anyway. Now, let me offer this to you as to why Disney would want to open Tiana's Bayou adventure for the summer this way. Folks, I suspect that Disney is going to open this using lightning lanes and virtual queues. That's what I suspect is going to happen here. And that means that this is a moneymaker in the mind of Disney. That's why they need to get it open for the summer, I think. Now, if they open it, and I'm highly recommending that Disney open this with the full-on standby line and lightning lane and everything you have, because Tiana's Bayou Adventure / Splash Mountain is fantastic in terms of capacity. It's fantastic in terms of reducing lines all throughout the rest of the park. So that's what I want. I want people to have a great time at the Magic Kingdom this summer. And you know what? Getting splashed with a little bit of water when it's 98 degrees, not a bad idea either. What I don't want to see is I don't want Disney to capitalize on this ride using virtual queues that don't use the standby line and all of this other stuff that largely, remember, Splash Mountain largely has interior queues with air conditioning, and that's fantastic. But, folks, I suspect that one reason they're rushing is because they want this open for the virtual queue, and that means money. Now, it says most of the animatronics should be there, but there are scenes which will be incomplete at the time of opening. I think that's a real worry. This goes back to also, folks, Carmen Smith is the lead, the project lead here, is what I've heard. And Carmen Smith, she's the head of DEI over at Imagineering. I have never seen her have a successful project ever since she's been at Disney. I'm not hating on her. I bet she's a lovely person. We would probably enjoy having tea sometime and talking. I don't know, but I don't think that she's ever been successful in launching a project. But anyway, no walls, nothing like that are going to be in these scenes to hide the fact that they're empty, just empty areas. And they'll add to those empty areas over the next months as they're able to. Not a good sign. Now, this is similar, though, to what happened when Frozen opened over in Epcot. There was a fountain missing at that time in the Olaf's skating scene, and that was added after the ride opened because it wasn't ready in time. However, this is on a completely different scale. Very, very different in terms of just how much is not going to be ready. And that's going to impact how the press would likely report on this, if not for the fact that there are racial issues that are going to prevent people from wanting to give their honest opinions on the ride. In other words, lots of folks are going to want to say what they really think about Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and then they're going to say, you know what, actually, I don't want to face the hate. I don't want to face the claims of being an ist or a phobe or any of those isms terms. And they're going to say, it's lovely, it's wonderful, it's great, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. When maybe, folks, this is heading in the direction of the Journey into Imagination 3.0. That's not what I want, by the way. Anybody who thinks that I want this project to fail is mistaken, because this is going to be there for a very long time. And people spend a lot of money to go to the Magic Kingdom and take their families and have their little sons and daughters walk down Main Street and see the castle. I don't want any ride in a family's vacation to be bad. That would be a bit far for me to want any kind of ride to be a bad experience for families. So I don't want that at all. I hope it's good, but there are worrying signs right now in ways that we didn't even anticipate. I was not saying months ago that they would open this thing unfinished. It says, I assume it's one or more of the animatronics since they've been having supply chain problems with the costumes. However, working on getting more details there, says the source. And then it says that the critters, by the way, many of these animatronics that Disney has been touting, that in fact they are going to be mostly statues with illuminated eyes. So also not a good thing considering Splash Mountain had more than 70 animatronics. Let me say it again, folks, more than 70 animatronics. This ride is going to have, depending on how you count it, 17 proper animatronics. Now, what are 17 animatronics? Well, that's anything that moves. And there are going to be a number of very high-spec animatronics, right? Those new age, new-end animatronics with all of the great motions and abilities, those modern servos. But of those, still, total, 17. And that not every one of those 17 is going to be the modern, brand new, amazing versions. So let's talk about the Juneteenth thing. That's why you clicked on the video. So here's what I am hearing, folks, but we can't confirm this yet because Disney has not made a public statement yet. So again, this gets into rumor and speculation territory simply because we are talking about something which has not occurred. This is in the future. And so Disney could change their plan. And perhaps they will due to this video, not sure. But what I'm hearing is that Disney perhaps is looking at Juneteenth, that is June 19th, as the official opening to all guests. The ribbon cutting and all of that, and let people ride the ride, just average folks ride the ride. Now, the problem with doing this on Juneteenth is that it could be seen, and I think it will be seen, as a way of shielding Disney yet again from appropriate criticism. Now, there's plenty of appropriate criticism for Disney in terms of what they've done with this ride and the transfer from Splash Mountain to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Remember that Louisiana doesn't have mountains, and Disney decided to transform a mountain into a bayou. but bayous are flat. In fact, they're usually below sea level flat. That doesn't work very well. And so that's already problem number one. Problem number two is that Tiana probably deserved her own attraction, a fantastic, amazing attraction that would have been appropriately set in the Bayou or New Orleans that would have been flat and perfect and great and grand. And instead, she gets a repurposed mountain attraction that doesn't make any sense. This makes about as much sense as trying to turn a ride based on Kansas into some sort of mountainous Matterhorn. That doesn't work. So there's already problems with this. And of course, we would also have to say that the ride seems to be based on Avery Island down in Louisiana. And Avery Island is the place where Tabasco is made. It's such a bizarre thing to see Disney trying to take something that belongs to another company and use that as the concept, the vision of their new ride, and to base one of their cartoon characters around this idea of Tabasco sauce, essentially, is just weird. But placing this on Juneteenth, why is it a problem? Well, first of all, folks, I just want to say that it's a little bit, it puts us out on the edge to even talk about this. In fact, one of our sister networks posted about this topic, and the monetary revenue for YouTube was restricted. So we know it's a little bit dangerous to talk about this. For whatever reason, I don't think it's a taboo subject at all. I want to share with you that I have went to Juneteenth celebrations in the past, and depending on how you celebrate Juneteenth, I have no problem with it. In fact, I think it's a wonderful thing to celebrate the end of slavery in the West. And I think that is a magnificent accomplishment of the West. It's certainly not a celebration of the end of all forms of slavery because that continues to exist. And unfortunately, many of our electronics are made by people who don't have a choice as to what they do with their lives. And unfortunately, due to the situation at the border, there are many people who come into the United States who they have no free will in terms of what they will do with their life. And oftentimes, they are taken advantage of in some of the absolute most atrocious and worst ways possible. It's extremely gross. But Juneteenth as a day to celebrate that the West ended legal slavery, I am all for that. I think that accomplishment deserves a day of celebration. Where I differ from some is that I don't think that it's wise to have 2 days of competing independence concepts. So, for example, I think that July 4th is a great day for everyone to celebrate independence. And that doesn't mean that everyone gained freedom, but that it was the start of a progress towards the ideal of freedom. And perhaps that freedom then goes even beyond the United States to other places. Remember, the United States is still the only country in the world that guarantees you the right to free speech, and that has been under assault greatly lately. But we're here to be a testimony to the fact that free speech still exists. There are some risks taken by doing it, but free speech is still here, and we intend for it to stay. So the problem then is, well, let's put a cap on the Juneteenth situation. So I think Juneteenth is a lovely holiday if you're celebrating the end of slavery. I think it's divisive if you have different people groups celebrating different concepts and ideas and originations of freedom and liberty, because then what you have is you have fragmentation. And so I want to see people of every skin color and background celebrating Juneteenth for the end of slavery. This is a kind of a new holiday to many people, and they had never heard of it. Many people had never heard of it just a few years ago. But I think it's a lovely idea. And Independence Day, July 4th, I want everybody of every background and color celebrating that, if they so choose, because I think it's wonderful for people to come together. That's beautiful to me. It's beautiful to me to see people of all different ethnicities sharing in things that they love and they enjoy. That it's truly a beautiful thing. In fact, I would say it's a reflection of the ideal of paradise. It's a reflection of the idea of heaven on earth, is when people put aside their arbitrary differences or their immutable differences, and they come together as brothers and sisters in spite of what the world would say we should be separated by. Now, all of that said, why do I think that the use of Juneteenth for the release of Tiana's Bayou Adventure is a bit too cynical for me? Well, because I'm afraid that what that will do is, I'm afraid that Disney will use it as a way to shield that criticism for a ride that's going to open and appears to going to be opening unfinished. And that's a real problem. I also think, too, that opening this attraction in an unfinished state is likely to result in a situation where people say, oh, you can't review it yet. Oh, you're being terrible. Oh, you're being bad. It's not done yet. You have to wait and see. They'll do a good job. Just wait, just wait. And 6 and 8 months later, we'll move on. Again, I don't want this attraction to fail. I'm going to miss Splash Mountain. May have to go to Japan to go celebrate the great African folklore that is the Brer characters. And that's a video for another day if you want to debate whether or not those are characters that actually represent African folklore. I say they absolutely do. They're part of the mythology of the African slaves who came to the United States. But we've got a Tiana and Naveen and all of them, and they were created by Disney. They're Disney originals. So we'll go hope for the best. But I'll miss Splash Mountain, and I'll really miss Laughing Place, and I'll really miss Zippity Doo Dah. And I'll still whistle Zippity Doo Dah every time I go by the attraction, because I think that song is never irrelevant. I think that song is never out of date, nor is it out of time. And remembering back to what Valerie Stewart told me about James Baskett dying of a broken heart because of what happened with Song of the South, and I think about her father, Nick Stewart, and his joy of playing Brer Bear with Splash Mountain when he came back to do the voice in the 1980s. And I think I'm going to continue to celebrate that. I hope Tiana's is good. And if it is, we'll review it well. We're not here to be mean. But opening it in an unfinished state and opening it allegedly on a day that celebrates the end of slavery, and that could be that shield that Disney likes to use so much, gives me real concerns. But folks, that's the video for today. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you loved it. If you did, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. Click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, drop a comment down below and let us know your thoughts. And folks, don't forget that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing. And as always, keep having fun. It's satisfactual.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Because you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?